Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today is the feast of the Epiphany, or Three Kings Day, and it used to be when I was little. It was my favorite part of the whole Christmas story, because that was my favorite Christmas carol, was We Three Kings of Orient Are. There's a couple interesting things I like to talk about the Three Kings. Today, we read from the Gospel of Matthew when we hear the story of the Magi. That's the only story in the whole New Testament that mentions them. It's in Matthew and it's nowhere else. It's not in Luke's infancy narrative either. If you pay attention and you listen carefully, you will notice that nowhere today in that Gospel did you hear the word king. They're never called kings. They're called magi. What is a magi? Well, magi is a plural of a magis, which is Latin for a Greek word magos, I believe, and that's where we get the word magic or magician. The best guess is that these people were Zoroastrianists. I had a hard time spitting that out at the last mass, which is still a thing. It's a religion. And they're very into astrology. But the legend had it way back then, they were also very much into alchemy and other esoteric practices. So the Romans and the Greeks looked at these people as kind of sorcerers. And so that's where we get the word magic and magician from, and that's where we get the word magi. So where does the kings thing come from? Well, that comes from Isaiah chapter 60 and also in the Psalms. And it's beautiful because today is one of those days where we see our readings and our gospel all fit together so perfectly. Isaiah, the prophet of the Messiah, talks that all kings shall come to worship, and all the kings of the nations shall come to worship. And the same is in the Psalms, Psalm 72, verse 11 in particular. It says, all kings shall bow down before you. So that's where we get this concept of the kings coming to visit. But also, if you listen close again, you will also notice that it is never mentioned that there are three. There is no number of how many magi is given. And in fact, in some Christian traditions, especially in the Syrian Christian tradition, they believe that there were 12 magi that visited. So where do we get the three? Well, of course, we get the three from the three gifts that they bring: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold is a symbol, a tribute to royalty. Christ is the king. Christ is the king of the universe, Christ is the king of the Jews, Christ is the king of the world, our souls, etc., etc. Frankincense is exactly that. Frankincense is incense. Incense is an offering to God. And myrrh is a spice that was used in embalming bodies. It's a symbol of Christ's mortality. You remember at the end of John's Gospel, I believe, when they're bringing Jesus to the tomb, Joseph of Arimathea, they also bring spices, and myrrh is included in that. So it symbolizes Christ as king, Christ as God, and Christ as man. And next time you hear We Three Kings of Orient Are, at the last stanza, it mentions now God, King, and Savior. So, and that's in reference to those three gifts. They also have names, the three wise men, which you didn't hear in the story today at all, but that's pious tradition. They're Balthazar, Caspar, and Melchior. And they got these names later on down the centuries in Christian tradition. It said that Balthazar was an Arabian wise man. It said that Melchior was a Persian wise man, and that Caspar came all the way from India to see Jesus. So, all kind of neat stuff.